Part 50. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 491. This is the Dog King, the only belief of dog fighters like us. Whoever is here to bully us, we will be angry with him. That's right, the Chinese native dog is the final destination. I decided to find the Lord of the Dog King and ask him for advice. I never thought that a Chinese native dog could be trained so well. It turns out that there are masters among the people. I want to visit this master. Let's go together. Just as Li Chen was on his way back, the forums and social groups dedicated to dog fighters had exploded. Dog fighting is an extremely sacred thing in the eyes of dog fighters. And the dogs fed by dog fighters are also cultivated by everyone's own hard work. There is a deep affection. Being able to cultivate a dog well enough is the dream of every dog fighter. There is even no shortage of people who like Chinese native dogs in China, but the long-term suppression and oppression of foreign dog bloodlines have made them very painful and desperate. At this time, Daodu and Dabao appeared like a ray of hope, illuminating the hearts of this group of people. They were like devout believers who had found Allah, extremely enthusiastic and excited. Qin Shen was naturally the first person they wanted to visit, followed by Li Chen. Onal Town. Li Chen stopped the car steadily, and Li Chuanlong appeared. "Why did you change the car again?" Li Chuanlong asked, looking at Li Chen's new car. Li Chen was stunned for a moment and said, "I gave that car to someone else." Li Chuanlong did not ask any more questions, opened the door, and took Li Zifeng in. "Grandpa," Li Biwu held Sun Wukong in one hand and stretched out the other hand to hug him. "Xiao Wu," Li Chuanlong held Li Biwu in his arms and pointed at Sun Wukong and said, "Is this your new partner again?" "Yes," Li Biwu excitedly held Sun Wukong. "What about Calabash Brothers?" "Yes." "Who do you like more?" Sun Wukong. Li Chuanlong. He finally understood that this precious great-granddaughter was just fickle. She changed toys very quickly. There is almost no room at home. "Grandpa, help me get something up." Li Chen stared blankly at his grandfather who walked towards the elevator without looking back. "Xiaofeng, hurry up, great-grandfather made you something delicious." Li Chuanlong waved to Li Zifeng who was holding Xiahua, and Li Zifeng immediately caught up and held the great-grandfather's rough hand. "What to eat?" "Grandpa!" Li Chen shouted again. "It's your favorite." Li Chuanlong smiled, as if he didn't see or hear Li Chen's voice. "Braised pork." Li Zifeng's eyes lit up. "Yes," Li Chuanlong laughed, "there is also Xiao's." "Bo," Li Biwa gave Li Chuanlong a kiss. Li Chen watched Li Chuanlong take his two daughters up, looked at the things in the car, and sighed. "Daodu." "Woof woof," Daodu turned and ran, "I don't want to move things. If you dare to run, I will break your dog legs and throw you out." Li Chen gritted his teeth and said. "Woo woo," Daodu came back very aggrieved. "Why do you have to bully me?" "Because you are the only one I can bully." Li Chen moved things down one by one. Daodu sighed. "Life is not easy. Daodu works hard." One person and one dog slowly moved all the things into the elevator and finally returned home. "Daddy, Daddy," Li Biwu stood on the chair and waved mysteriously at Li Chen, "Look, what Grandpa prepared for us." Li Chen looked at his little daughter who was like a drama queen and could only respond, "What is it?" "It's rura, so many rura." Li Biwu lifted the cover of the dish on the table with a smile on his face. Li Chen screamed, attracting more laughter from Xiao. Daddy. Li Biwu clumsily picked up a piece of her favorite meat with her smaller chopsticks and brought it to Li Chen's mouth, saying, "Ah." Li Chen followed suit and ate the meat in one bite. "Is it good?" Li Biwu's fan-like eyelashes flickered up and down, and her smart big eyes looked at Li Chen with expectation. It's delicious." Li Chen nodded heavily, "This is the most delicious meat Dad has ever eaten." Hee. Li Biwu stomped her feet and danced excitedly, picked up another piece of meat, and moved to Li Chuanlong's side. "Grandpa. Xiao also wants to feed Grandpa." "Yeah," Li Biwu nodded. Li Chuanlong ate it in one bite, and Li Biwu laughed continuously. After washing his hands, Li Chen sat at the dining table. "Eat this." Li Chen put a piece of braised pork in Li Zifeng's bowl and said, "Eat more." "Thank you, Dad." Li Zifeng smiled. At this time, she had already started to lose her teeth. The lively girl had become much quieter. She disliked that she didn't look good at all when she lost her teeth. "Eat quickly, or your sister will finish eating." Li Chen pouted and pointed at Li Biwu, who was eating. "This little girl is really easy to take care of. She doesn't need to be served." She was very serious when eating and didn't pay attention to other people at all. This is probably the most active child in eating that Li Chen has ever seen. After eating, Li Chen went to the kitchen to wash the dishes, while Li Chuanlong accompanied Li Biwu and Li Zifeng in the living room. After Li Chen cleaned up the kitchen, Li Chen also sat on the sofa. Xiahua is more afraid of heat, so she has been huddled in the air conditioner, which is the coldest place. It doesn't matter to Daodu, he can lie down anywhere. "Grandpa, how is the house?" "We'll almost finish the work tomorrow. We need to go up to the beam and sprinkle wedding candies," Li Chuanlong said. "Is that thing ready?" Li Chen asked. "Everything is ready." Li Chuanlong couldn't hide the smile in his eyes. The tradition in rural areas is that when the peak begins to be capped, a lot of food will be dropped and fireworks will be set off. It is just for auspiciousness or celebration. After a new house is built, a banquet will be held, which means that the days to come will get better and prosperous. Li Chen has no plans to do this. As long as the house is built and can be lived in, it will be fine. Next, give Yan Liangjun and others a big red envelope. After all, there are still some decorations that need to be done. So, we have to wait for a while. Li Chen was not in a hurry. Jingle bell. At this time, Ye Yonggan called. "Xiao Wu." "Uncle." Li Biwu immediately moved his face to the edge of the screen. Ye Yonggan showed a smile and said, "Do you miss your uncle?" "No." Li Biwu huddled in Li Chen's arms and shook his head, his hair tickling Li Chen's chin. Ye Yonggan's expression changed, he raised a lot of things and said, "Uncle, I'll ask you again, do you miss me?" "Yes," Li Biwu said honestly, staring directly at the snacks in Ye Yonggan's hand. "That's pretty much it," Ye Yonggan said. "My uncle has prepared a lot of delicious food for you and your sister. Remember to tell your uncle when you receive it." "Okay," Li Biwu nodded. Brother-in-law Ye Yonggan looked at Li Chen and said, "Help." "Run out of things?" Li Chen asked. "Isn't that right?" Ye Yonggan began to complain. "You don't know, now the He family is willing to fight to the death to fight us. However, no matter how the He family thinks of some destructive moves, there is nothing they can do. Now my Ye family's fragrant pig has occupied the absolute home court." The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami. Chapter 492. Ye Yonggan's words were not bragging. The Ye family's pigs are now the only ones in the world. The grass they eat is the best in the world. Not to mention, they are fed with vitality water. It is very difficult for the Mu family to make a move. As for the He family, their raw material production areas were all taken away by Li Chen, and now they have become the property of the Pan family. The Pan family's current foundation is unmatched by anyone. Ziwife wine has blossomed everywhere, and the wine market in more than half of the region is firmly controlled by the Pan family. To be frank, even if the He family has an amazing foundation now, there is no more way. But one thing is certain, that is, the price war. Even if the wine of the He family is not as good as the Pan family in comparison. But you have to know that there will always be people who will choose cheaper ones, even if the quality of these wines is a little worse. Therefore, as long as the foundation of the He family is not empty, there is still room for resistance. After all, The market is so big. Although Zy-Fi liquor has made rapid progress, it is impossible to cover it completely in a short period of time. The He family is completely restrained. As for the Mu family, it is naturally not much stronger. The pigs of Yayangan's family are the straw that squeezes the Mu family to death. Nowadays, the daily pork transaction volume of the Ye family is about hundreds of thousands of pounds. During this period, the Ye family used its previous basic plates to regain its foothold at an extremely fast speed. From the capital, it radiates in all directions. Pig farms in various places are now strictly controlled and selected. Be careful of any mistakes and the previous things. After complaining, Yayangan said, in the next 2 days, we will conduct a financial accounting, and then a sum of money will be remitted to your account. Remember to check it? Yayangan was still afraid that Li Chen would forget. They had a preliminary understanding, and Li Chen's assets seemed to be too much to count. Li Chen really doesn't care about their sales. Okay, Li Chen smiled and nodded. While dealing with them, you can also help me keep an eye on the Dongfang family. Dongfang family, Yayangan, who had a cynical look on his face just now, immediately sat up and said, keep an eye on or keep an eye on. Keep an eye on while ensuring your own safety, Li Chen thought for a while and said. Okay. Then I'll arrange to deliver the goods to you tomorrow, Li Chen said and hung up the phone. As soon as he hung up, Yuan Chenjiun called. Unlike Yayangan, Yuan Chenjiun is more serious. Li Chen. I'll arrange the delivery tomorrow, Li Chen said. Yuan Chenjiun. Don't you ask about the situation here. Then, what's the situation on your side, Li Chen asked, and Li Biwa came over again. Uncle. Yuan Chenjiun smiled, Xiao, long time no see. Uncle, my sister asked you, where is my aunt? Yuan Chenjiun, hashtag. Uncle, Li Biwa leaned in front of the phone, looked at Yuan Chenjiun motionlessly, and shook the phone. Uncle? Is your network stuck? Dad, is the network bad? Li Biwa tilted his head and looked at Li Chen. Li Zifeng on the side couldn't help laughing and said, if you didn't ask where my aunt was, he might not be stuck. Why? Li Zifeng spread her hands, I don't know about this either. Humph, Li Biwa stomped her feet hard, and the sofa was soft, so she fell down. Ignore uncle. Seeing Li Biwa leave the screen, Yuan Chenjiun immediately moved his cheeks and whispered, I tell you, the original decision was indeed correct. The Zheng family is really full of tricks. But the Zheng family has been miserable recently, and they have been hurt. After our Yuan family released the third batch of vegetables, they couldn't stand it and kept making small moves. By the way, when will you take Xiaolong home? Soon, Li Chen said, what's wrong? When I went to see Xiaolong yesterday, the Murong family didn't stop me at all, and didn't care where Xiaolong went. Yuan Chenjiun wondered, this shouldn't be the case. Murong Hungs shouldn't be so relaxed. I will send more people, Li Chen said. I don't know why do I feel that there are a few more undercurrents in the capital, and even the first echelon has been affected. Yuan Chenjiun's words immediately aroused Li Chen's vigilance. Undercurrent. Yes, Yuan Chenjiun said, it started a few days ago. Now the Dongfang family in the capital seems to have a scandal, then there is also movement in the Situ family, but the Xianyuan family is watching the show. Li Chen frowned. He was 100% sure that there was something wrong with the Dongfang family. But he was really unfamiliar with the Situ family. As for the Xianyuan family, this family is impeccable, and Xianyuan Bingguo is also honest. It doesn't seem to be related to his family's affairs. Could it be that, except for the Xianyuan family, the other three families are involved? That makes sense, but there is one more family. Or, are there already multiple parties involved? I'll make arrangements right away. It's enough for you Yuan family to increase your offensive against the Zheng family. Okay, Yuan Chenjiun nodded. Uncle. Li Biwu suddenly appeared and frightened Yuan Chenjian, so he hung up the phone immediately. Li Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He really didn't expect that an uncle would be urged to get married by his niece one day. "Daddy," Li Biwu lay on Li Chen and said, "Why did you hang up the phone, uncle?" "Because uncle is busy." "Keisu, Keisu." Li Biwu held back for a long time, but couldn't finish the sentence. He probably forgot it. Finally, he crawled to the side to play with Li Zifeng. Seeing that it was getting late, Li Chen and Li Chuanlong picked up the two little guys and went to the bedroom to rest. "Xiao Wu, go to sleep obediently." Li Chen patted Li Biwu's butt. The girl was in good spirits now. Since Li Nanfei went to film, Li Zifeng went to sleep with her grandfather. She disliked her stupid sister. "Okay," Li Biwu lay beside Li Chen, and her breathing gradually became even. Early morning. Li Chen got up gently, looked at Xiao Wu who was lying on her back, and opened the system. Now, the system's return points have reached tens of millions. This time, Li Chen plans to give enough to the Yuan family, the Ye family, and the Pan family, so that they can take the next strong medicine. By the way, let's see if there is any new movement. The Pan family is a winery, and the winery actually does not need that much. Li Chen muttered to himself, "Let's exchange 1 million drops first. 1 million drops of vitality water, that is 2 million return points." The Ye family is a pig farmer, because they need to cultivate their own feed and feed the pigs with diluted vitality water pig feed, so the consumption is also amazing. Li Chen directly exchanged about 1.5 million drops, which cost 3 million return points. The Yuan family should be the one that consumes the most among the three families. Vegetables are needed every day, and in large quantities. Therefore, Li Chen exchanged 2.5 million drops, which is 5 million return points. A total of 10 million return points were exchanged. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami. Chapter 493. After Li Chen exchanged all of these, he took out a large number of small bottles that he had prepared before from the storage space in the space, and filled all of these vitality water. The original return point was 11,141,408, and now 10 million has been consumed, leaving only 1,141,408. For Li Chen, there is not much need for the remaining more than 1 million for the time being. There are a full 5 million drops of vitality water, and the bottles in Li Chen's hand are enough. Only 500,000 bottles are needed to fill them all. Now, Li Chen and the other three companies have a very close cooperation. Therefore, the transportation of these things is not through others, but through their own internal channels. When Li Chen transported the things out, he found that his grandfather had also gotten up. "Hurry up and wash up, don't delay the time at home," Li Chuanlong urged. Even Li Zifeng has gotten up. "Okay," Li Chen nodded, although the current Li family is not short of money or houses. But the house in Jia village has been regarded as a real home by Li Chen and Li Chuanlong. It is the ancestral home. Some things may be a custom, and it doesn't matter whether they exist or not. But since they exist, then obey them. For good luck. "Xiao," Li Chen came to the bed and gently patted Li Biwu's belly. Li Biwu opened her eyes in confusion. "Daddy." The soft and sweet little voice made Li Chen's heart melt. "Let's get up and go back to the village. We have to give out candy today," Li Chen coaxed. "But Su, Yinjia still wants to sleep." Li Biwu put one leg on Li Chen's hand and pulled Li Chen with one hand, wanting her father to sleep with her. "Then you sleep." Li Chen had to pick up Li Biwu and let her continue to sleep first. Li Chuanlong brought Li Zifeng, who had already washed up, down. "Xiao Feng." "Ah, Li Zifeng was also a little confused. Li Chen rubbed her hair and said, "You got up so early, thank you for your hard work." Li Zifeng shook her head immediately after hearing this, holding Li Chen's big hand, and she was jumping while walking. When Li Chen drove to his home, a large group of relatives came. Not only that, some old acquaintances in the village had also arrived long ago. After seeing Li Chen and Li Chuanlong coming down, they all smiled and greeted them. The more people there were, the more lively it was. At this time, the big house of Li Chen's family had been completely built, just waiting for the last ceremony. Li Chuanlong smiled and took out a cigarette and chatted with the villagers around. Li Zifeng took care of Li Biwu, while Li Chen began to put the candies, Wang snow cakes, peanuts, milk candies, and cigarettes prepared by his grandfather into the big dustpan. Grandfather Li Chuanzhao and second grandfather Li Chuangzhen came over and carried the dustpan upstairs first. The eldest brother Li Chengwang and the second brother Li Feichen also came to help and unpack the bags of things. "Why did you buy so many things?" asked the second brother Li Feichen. "I didn't buy them, but Grandpa did." Li Chen shook his head and said, "Anyway, the family doesn't need that little money now, and today is a rare festive day. In the next few decades, there will definitely be few possibilities for building a house, so it's natural to be more grand." Li Chenwang gave a thumbs up. "You are still thinking clearly, so your family is the most profitable in our Li family. Look at what you said, brother, there are more opportunities to make money in our village now, but the key is that you families don't let me help you, right?" Li Chen pouted. Li Chenwang and Li Feichen smiled, because they were family members, so they shouldn't let Li Chen intervene. Nowadays, the village can be said to be changing every day, and the money in everyone's pocket is really increasing at a visible speed. If the Li family members are still not satisfied, it's really hard to say. Let's go together," Li Chen shouted. Dad, Dad," Li Biwu rushed over with her crooked hair, pulling her sister. Smelling the food, Li Biwu instantly woke up. "What's wrong?" Li Chen squatted down and asked. "Xiao also wants to sprinkle candy with Daddy." Li Biwu stared at the food with his eyes blinking. "Haha, okay." Li Chen picked up Li Biwu with one hand, looked at Li Zifeng and said, "Do you want to go up with us?" "Yes." "Then you follow your second uncle." Li Chen pointed at Li Feichen. At this time, the little brats led by Li Junhao all came. One by one, they held small dustpans, stuffed candy into their mouths, and followed upstairs with laughter. "Be careful," Li Feichen warned. Li Chen and his group went upstairs, and many workers who helped Li Chen build the house were there. Li Chen started to pass cigarettes when he met them, and then stuffed a handful of food. These workers smiled and thanked Li Chen and congratulated him. Li Biwu stuffed a big white rabbit milk candy in his mouth and held two in his hand. Seeing her father talking and laughing with these uncles and aunts, she also smiled foolishly. There were 50 people helping Li Chen's family build the house, so it took a lot of effort just to distribute these things. Not to mention the subsequent sugar spreading session. Li Chen led a group of people to the top floor. There were almost 100 people gathered below the Li family's new house. However, there were a lot of children in the village, at least a dozen or nearly 20. Li Chen glanced at Li Siyi, Li Xiaoliu, Li Junhao and other little kids beside him, and simply gave up his position. Li Zifeng also moved forward. A group of adults simply moved the venue. Sprinkle, there were many shouts below. After the crackling sound of firecrackers, Li Zifeng and several children upstairs immediately picked up things and scattered them below. Because the food was basically packaged, it would not be dirty even if it was scattered. In addition to these, Li Chen also scattered the cigarettes prepared by him into the crowd. There was a festive and scramble below, and those who grabbed the cigarettes shouted excitedly. Others did this by opening the packs of cigarettes and then scattering them in bulk. Li Chen was good, throwing packs of cigarettes directly, How could everyone not be happy? Cut candy. Li Biwu waved her little hand and threw 2 candies below. Her hands were really small, and she didn't have much strength, so she couldn't throw them far. The crowd below laughed, and Li Biwu laughed too, not knowing that it was she who was laughing. Fortunately, Li Chuanlong prepared enough things, and distributed thousands of yuan worth of things, and basically everyone below got some. Only then did Li Chen hold Xiao Wu and take a group of children downstairs. Congratulations! This new house is so beautiful. Yes, this is the first time we have seen a house of this style. Everyone was talking to Li Chuanlong, and Li Chen handed Li Biwu to Li Zifeng, and then chatted with the elders who came to support him. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 494. Li Chen's new home naturally did not plan a whole wedding banquet. At most, he would invite a group of relatives from the Li family to have a meal together. The village pays attention to a lively atmosphere, and Li Chen also satisfied this liveliness. As the villagers dispersed, everyone began to continue working. The finishing work of the new house had to continue, and Yan Liangjun led people to continue to decorate. Grandpa, second grandpa, Li Chen walked to Li Chuanzhao and Li Chuangzhen and said, "In 2 days, our family will have a meal together to make it lively." Okay, Li Chuanzhao and Li Chuangzhen were both smiling. Where is Shue'er? Shue'er is filming. After the filming of this play is finished, she will come back with Sci-fi, Li Chen explained with a smile. Filming is good. Obviously, these old people have also seen Murong Shue's plays. Li Zifeng and Li Biwu's pockets were already full of food. Daodu and Xiahua followed the 2 little girls. When they first saw Xiahua, Li Junhao and other friends were scared. But after getting familiar with each other, they were surprised to find that Xiahua was actually very well behaved and didn't bite anyone. Are we going to play hopscotch? What about hopscotch? Li Biwu asked with her big round eyes. Li Zifeng, who was standing by, was also very confused. As the big brother, Li Junhao stood up with a sense of accomplishment at this time. Hopscotch is like this. Li Chen came to the village office. Village Chief Li Wenda was basking in the sun. Village Chief, you're looking for me. Li Chen, come on. Li Wenda sat up immediately after seeing Li Chen coming. Li Chen sat on a chair beside him and said, "What's the matter? Is your dog famous?" Li Wenda asked mysteriously. I don't know." Li Chen shook his head honestly. Did Xiaofeng release the video? If so, Daodu might really be famous. Li Wenda glared at Li Chen and said, "You are really, look, the impact is too great now." Li Chen took the phone. "Cruel, how cruel, actually fighting dogs, is such a person worthy of raising dogs? Calling to love dogs, but just using dogs as a tool to make money, is such a person worthy of creating a loving dad persona? Stop using the halo of patriotism here, such people are actually using everyone's empathy to make money. If the native dog is really so powerful, why don't so many people raise it now? Use your brains, everyone. As a real dog owner, I dare to pat my chest and guarantee that the native dog may indeed be a little smart, but that's all. As for the fighting power, it is even more rubbish. I agree. The pit bull in the video is simply embarrassing. A real pit bull is not like this. How can a local dog crush it? It's really hilarious. This blogger has done everything he can to become famous. Everyone, I, Nicholas Lu Wu, have officially decided today that I will challenge this dad. I will not use foreign dog breeds. I will use Tibetan Mastiffs to fight his local dogs. If even the local Tibetan Mastiffs can't beat them, everyone will be able to tell whether his video is true or false. Support. Li Chen scanned the comments, and almost all of them were one-sided. Before that, many people spoke for Li Chen, but they were drowned out. And more people couldn't believe it. The video was really too subversive. This didn't look like a normal shoot, but more like a movie. So, many people think that Li Chen's video is exaggerated. Looking at the whole country, Chengdu is really not in the mainstream. And there are so many people who keep dogs, and there are not a few who respect foreign bloodlines. In their eyes, local dogs are garbage. They cannot tolerate such dogs stepping on the pedigree dogs that they think are noble. As for the video released by Li Zifeng, it is even more intolerable. Of course, some dog lovers and dog owners also saw the shortcut to becoming popular. Some really want to communicate with Li Chen, but some want to compete with Li Chen's dog. No matter what the final outcome is, they will not lose. Because they found that the popularity of this dad is too high. If this person only follows the single dad personality, perhaps he will not turn over, but they all think that the dad's children are too cute. However, he should not eat another wave of dividends. Li Chen did not continue to watch, and handed the phone to Li Wenda and said, "You mean, there may be a large number of outsiders who may cause trouble to me recently. We have to be on guard," Li Wenda warned. "Where can we go now? What's more, some people will do anything to become famous. Everyone has seen your dog, you can tell me the truth, is the video real?" Li Chen was amused. "Yes. Is it really true?" "Yeah," Li Chen said. "Okay, I will settle this matter myself when the time comes. By the way, how is the school going now?" Very fast. Speaking of the school, the old village chief unconsciously smiled. "Now my son is watching there every day. They have a lot of people, so they are all built quickly." "That's good." Li Chen nodded, stood up and said, "Then I'll go back first. Be more careful, these people are really not to be messed with, let's not let them into the village." "It's okay." Li Chen got up and went home. Sister-in-law Dingmin and second sister-in-law Yan Zhenkai were helping third sister Li Zixin cook. This was the last time Yan Liangjun's team had dinner at Li Chen's house, so it was natural to make it grand. Li Chen took down the Ziwifei wine in the trunk. It would be a good way to reward the group of people at that time. The children played together and had a lot of fun. "Pig, such a big pig." Suddenly, the worker standing on the roof shouted. So, one by one, all eyes looked at the vegetable garden near Li Chen's house. "Is that a big wild boar?" "It looks like it." "Why did this wild boar come down the mountain? Isn't it here to steal food?" Li Chen never expected that Lao He would come down at this time. Since he was exposed at this moment, he couldn't just drive Lao He away. "Li Chen, don't go over there. The wild boar is very ferocious." "Li Chen, are you crazy? The great-grandfather, the second-grandfather, the third-grandfather, the first uncle and the second uncle were all shocked and rushed over to pull Li Chen. Li Chuanlong waved his hands and said, "It's okay, it's okay." "Li Chuanlong, are you getting old and confused? That's a wild boar." The great-grandfather Li Chuanzhao pointed at Li Chuanlong's nose and cursed, "This will kill people." Several relatives were so scared that their faces turned pale. After hearing what Li Chuanlong said, they were so angry. The old Li family is now finally like a big family. If Li Chen has an accident at this time, it will be really over. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami. Chapter 495. Li Chuanlong wiped the saliva on his face and let his elder brother spray it. After he finished spraying, he said, "Brother, this pig is very familiar to our family." "Cooked? Will it be cooked if you eat?" Li Chen, Li Chuanzhao and others were going crazy, and they didn't know what stupid things this brother said. "That's an animal, not a human being." A group of relatives were all very anxious, copying with sticks and hose. All in all, they looked like they were about to fight. Lao He stood in the distance. After seeing this scene, he looked at Li Chen and groaned. "Are the people in your house going to hit me?" "It's okay, they're just worried about me," Li Chen said with a smile. "Why did you come out at this time?" How dangerous it is. I'm hungry, Lao He said to Li Chen embarrassedly. Li Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Where are your sons? Why didn't you bring them out? Lao He shook his head and said that he didn't want to take it with him and he couldn't take it with him. Besides, it's daytime, and it's still too dangerous to take it out. Li Chen started loading vegetables for Lao He, and said, by the way, I don't have any treasures at home. You can take me to pick some treasures in 2 days. Lao He was startled and shook his pig's head. He couldn't help it. It was so dangerous in there, and there were things we couldn't afford to offend. Don't worry, I dare to provoke anyone. Li Chen patted Lao He. Snap! Bang! The Li family, Yan Liangjun, and others who picked up the guy and were about to save others were all dumbfounded. Is this really familiar? Li Chuangzhao, Li Chuangzhen, and Li Chuangzhen were all stunned on the spot. They knew that there were large wild boars in the rolling mountains behind, and they had even injured people back then. Not only that, there are even more ferocious beings inside. These are the main reasons why they cannot enter the mountains. But who would have thought that this big guy in the mountains who could pose a threat to everyone would actually be very familiar with Li Chen? What the hell is this? When I go, it really refreshes my outlook. The big wild boar is actually real. Hurry up and take pictures, this is too scary. They had never seen anything so outrageous and bizarre in their lives. Wild boars are ferocious and violent. When they encounter people, they will either chase them or people will chase them. I have never heard that wild boars can get along well with humans. This is definitely an unprecedented first time. Fourth grandpa, do you also know this? Third brother-in-law Zhang Fan couldn't help but ask. You really don't know it until you see it, but you will be shocked when you see it. I know, Li Chuanlong said. At first I was scared to death, but then Li Chen said that this wild boar is related to our family and has no ill intentions. It just comes to eat our food every time. Of course, it always brings some precious medicinal materials from the mountains to our family as compensation. I'll go, Li Feichen exclaimed after hearing this. You still know how to exchange things for things. Is this wild boar probably a sperm? Li Chenwan couldn't help but guess. Animals are actually very smart. In addition to not being able to speak, they also understand emotions. Li Chuanlong said, I have been around this big wild boar for a long time, and it has never hurt anyone. It also has 4 little ones. Zaza is also a foodie. Li Chuanlong felt that it was necessary to confirm it for them and said, we should just don't hit it when we encounter it in the future. It will not actively attack humans. After saying that, Li Chuanlong also came over, and the Li family was frightened to see it. Lao He made a squeaking sound under Li Chuanlong's patting and stroking. Lao He was also depressed during this period. Li Chen's family has been building a house and there are too many people. It didn't dare to get close several times, mainly because it was afraid of arousing the hostility of these people. Once something happens, it won't be good for anyone. Okay, I will notify the whole village when the time comes and let you come and go more freely in the future, Li Chen said with a smile, but I have to say yes, if you eat other people's food, you have to exchange it with something. Lao He shook his head and said, I won't eat their food. This pig also understands that other people's food may not be as delicious as Li Chen's. Besides, Li Chen's house is close to the top of the mountain, so it's very convenient to get down. After loading Lao He with a bag of vegetables, Lao He dragged the bag away. As soon as Lao He left, a group of people gathered around him. Is this pig really familiar with you? Is it psychic? Why doesn't it bite? Although the family members are usually quite serious, now they are not serious at all, and they are very curious. The wild boar, which is as tall as an adult, can be said to be very powerful in combat. Without 5 or 6 times their combat power, there is no way to trap it. But such a tall and fierce guy was not cruel at all, which really surprised everyone. Li Chen looked at the people gathered around him and said, Lao He is related to our family and is more understanding of human nature, so he won't hurt anyone. As for why it doesn't bite people? I think it's because it's not hostile to humans. It's just that people subconsciously think they are a scourge, so they are afraid of them, and if they hit them, they will naturally go crazy. After hearing this, everyone vaguely understood. Can the photo we just took be released? Someone asked. It was actually a bit shocking to watch this scene. Anything is fine, Li Chen didn't care. Anyway, Lao He doesn't come often. As for being questioned as hype or something like that, Li Chen doesn't care at all. Live your own life, what do you care about the internet, keyboard warrior? Yan Liangjun scolded, okay, everyone hurry up and work. As the contractor spoke, everyone immediately posted a Douyin video happily and started working again. Li Chenwang and Li Feichen came over to ask about the old black man's situation. Li Chen said what he could say, and naturally didn't say what he couldn't say. Helping to cook at noon made up for the problem of insufficient manpower. The lunch was the most abundant in history, and Li Chen was willing to spend money. After all, Yan Liangjun and others worked overtime to build the house, which was quite hard. What's more, it was still summer, and the temperature was scary. Cheers. At the table, everyone raised their glasses together. Hey, is this Ziwife wine? Boss Li, you are so generous. I've been craving this wine for a long time, but it's a pity that I can't afford it. The wine and dishes made this meal taste unique. After a full meal, the work of Yan Liangjun and others officially entered the final stage. Until the evening, Li Chen's house was finally officially completed. Yan Liangjun and others began to pack up their tools. There were still many things that needed to be cleaned up, but this could only be done by Li Chen. Li Chuanlong, Li Zifeng, and Li Biwu were packing up the things at home. Li Zifeng was actually okay, with both height and strength. Li Biwu, a little girl, was short and had little strength, but she had to work with her sister and great-grandfather. As a result, she only carried a little bit of things each time, and was exhausted. I told you not to follow. He, Li Biwu had long been accustomed to her sister's dislike. When Li Zifeng walked with big strides, Li Biwu had to run with her short legs to keep up. Grandpa, give it to me. Xiao is so good. Li Chuanlong's eyes were full of doting smiles, and he took the little thing that was as light as nothing and praised it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami. Chapter 496. Brother Chen, we'll leave first. At around 9 o'clock in the evening, Yan Liangjun and others had already packed up. Okay, be careful. Li Chen smiled and handed everyone another pack of cigarettes. Yan Liangjun and others were a little embarrassed to accept it. During the time when Li Chen's house was built, these things alone could be worth thousands of yuan. After watching Yan Liangjun and others leave, Li Chen looked at the newly built house and smiled. He took out his mobile phone and called Murong Shui. After ringing more than 10 times, the phone was finally connected. Dad. On Li Chen's screen, the handsome face of the little guy Li Nanfei appeared first in the video. Looking at the bright smile on his little son's face, Li Chen couldn't help but smile and said, haven't you finished work yet? Li Nanfei leaned back on the chair and complained in a sitting position, yes, Mom is still filming. Why so late? Li Chen felt a little distressed. Mom said to move up the progress so that we can go back earlier. Li Nanfei spread his hands. Do you want to come back earlier? Li Chen's heart trembled slightly when he heard this. Are you tired? Li Nanfei shook his head and said, no, I don't have that many scenes, but I have more scenes as a mother. How long will it take to finish the filming? Li Chen looked at his youngest son and felt distressed. It won't be long. We've been filming lately, and my mom and I basically do it in one take, sometimes just 2 or 3 takes, so the progress is very fast. Li Nanfei complained, the food here is so bad, I want to eat the lobster, fish and braised pork you make. Li Chen smiled and said, okay, I'll bring your sister and your sister to see you. Really? Of course it's true. Li Chen laughed and scolded, what's the matter? Don't believe your dad. Hee, that's not the case. Li Nanfei shook his head and said, but you'd better not come. Why? Mom said that if you come, she will be distracted. While we are in the current state, it's best to finish filming in one go. Li Nanfei imitated Mirong Shue's tone and said, after this drama is finished, I will not film for the time being this year, just accompany us. Xiaofei. Mom, come quickly, Dad is calling. Li Chen looked at the phone with some anticipation. After the footsteps approached, Mirong Shue's face appeared. Shue. Husband. A touch of surprise and shyness immediately appeared on Mirong Xiu's slightly tired face. This sweet husband almost broke Li Chen's heart. Thank you for your hard work. Mirong Xiu hugged Li Nanfei and smiled, what's the hard work? How is your home? The house has been built, just waiting for you, the hostess, to come back. Li Chen waved to Li Zifeng and Li Biwu, and the 2 girls immediately ran over. Mom. Mom. Li Biwu snatched the phone and wanted to put her face on the screen. When Mirong Xiu saw the 2 children, her eyes suddenly turned red. She hadn't been separated from her children for so long. Mom, Xiao misses you. Li Biwu was held on Li Chen's lap, and Li Zifeng leaned on Li Chen's side. Mirong Xiu wiped her eyes and said, Xiao is so good, Mom misses you too. Li Biwu held the phone, and her little hand couldn't hold it, shaking violently. Li Chen wanted to help her hold it, but she was not happy. Where's Xiaolong? Mirong Shui asked. I'll pick him up after I'm done. Li Chen said, don't worry, Xiaolong will definitely be back when you and Xiaofei come back. What about Rong Cheng? It's done. Li Chen smiled and put his chin on the top of Li Biwu's head. The little girl giggled and shook her head constantly, not wanting her father to put his chin on her head. Then, Li Biwu ran to Li Chuanlong with her mobile phone. She had to let Sanguo talk to her great-grandfather. With the little guy around, the family was very happy to call. After chattering for a full hour, he reluctantly hung up the phone. Li Chuanlong had almost cleaned up the place. Li Chen got in the car with 2 babies and went to the town to spend the last night. Go back to the village to stay tomorrow. Daodu. Daodu looked at Li Chen, what did you call me for? Go and take Xiao Wu a bath. Li Chen pointed to the bathroom and said, no water play. Woof. Daodu happily rushed to the bathroom. I don't play with water, but I don't know if the little master plays with water. Daodu, wait for me. Xiao Wu ran after him with her short legs. Li Chen didn't bother to care. He had to pack up first. This house in the town will definitely be idle by then. Take away everything you can. Dad, I'll help you. Li Zifeng is much more sensible than Xiao Wu, and she is becoming more and more like a little adult in this family. Okay. Li Chen rubbed Li Zifeng's little head, and the father and daughter packed up together. Hey, big clown face. I'm not. Li Zifeng poked Li Chen's nose with her finger, you are. Li Chen quickly put some black on Li Zifeng's face again. The father and daughter finished packing up their things while playing and fighting. Li Chuanlong packed up some things and moved them to the trunk of the car downstairs first. Daddy. Li Chen appeared with a calico face. Ah. Li Biwu was so scared when she saw Li Chen's appearance that she turned around and ran away. Ah, I want to eat Xiao Wu. Li Chen chased after him. Ah, great-grandpa, Daddy wants me. Li Biwu ran very fast with her short legs and rushed behind her great-grandfather. Li Chuanlong picked up Li Biwu and said, let's go, ignore daddy and blow dry our hair. Okay, Li Biwa giggled and made faces at Li Chen. After Li Chen washed up, Li Biwa quietly opened Li Chen's door. Dad, the little girl whispered. What's wrong? Li Chen looked at the little girl. I want to break up with you. Li Biwa lay on the head of the bed, looking at Li Chen pitifully with her big eyes. Come on, come up. Li Chen patted his bed. Li Biwa kicked her feet, kicked off her shoes, and fell into Li Chen's arms. Xiao Wu lay on Li Chen's chest, staring out the window with a trance. Go to bed early. Li Chen patted the little girl's butt. Li Biwu immediately covered her butt like a frightened rabbit and said, Don't hit me. Then go to bed quickly. I don't want to. Li Biwu lay down again. Li Chen turned off the lights directly. Daddy. I want to have sex with Rura. Daddy. I want to have sex with Xia Xia. Daddy, woo woo. If you keep talking, Dad will throw you to the garbage collectors downstairs and let them pick you up. Li Biwu immediately stopped talking, huddled aside, staring at Li Chen innocently with big eyes. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 497. Cluck. Kuakuita. Li Biwu stood on tiptoe in front of the newly built chicken coop and imitated De Hong's call. De Hong flapped its wings, and Li Biwu followed suit. Stupid Li Zifeng knocked on her stupid sister and said, Hurry up. Okay. Li Zifeng held a bamboo pole and said to De Hong and Xiao Hong, De Hong, don't make trouble, hurry up and take them in. Cluck. De Hong barked twice and took his wife and younger brother into the new chicken coop. This chicken coop is very large and clean. Most importantly, it is separated from wet and dry. Don't poop here in the future, understand, Li Zifeng said, pointing to the clean area in the east. Cluck. De Hong and Xiao Hong both nodded their heads and flapped their wings a few times. The east is a built cement floor, while the west is mainly soil. Dad, Li Biwu looked at Li Zifeng and said, Dad is going to live in jelly. Li Zifeng rolled her eyes beautifully and said, the daddy I'm talking about is chicken shit, not dad. Oh, Li Biwu suddenly realized. Let's go. Li Zifeng stretched out her hand and said, we have to lock up Dabai and the others. Won't Dabai play with us? Li Biwu looked at her sister. No, Li Zifeng said seriously, Dabai and the others also have to accompany their family and can't always play with us. Oh, Li Biwu nodded as if she understood. The two sisters went to lock up the lion-headed goose, the big white goose, and a few ducks. Li Chen and Li Chuanlong, the grandfather and grandson, began to clean up the house. It was still quite difficult to clean up the newly built new house. The tiles on the wall alone were quite troublesome. Li Chen cleaned up from upstairs, and Li Chuanlong mainly cleaned up on the first floor. Of course, it was unlikely that Li Chen would clean up properly. When his grandfather went downstairs, he immediately threw the rag on the wall, manipulated the rag, and wiped it with his mind. For him now, doing this kind of thing is easy. After wiping the walls and glass, the next step is to clean the floor. Although the tiles are clean, they still need to be mopped because there is a layer of wax on them. After Li Chen finished upstairs, his grandfather Li Chuanlong only wiped a small part. Are you done? Li Chuanlong widened his eyes and looked suspicious. Yes, Li Chen smiled and said, if you don't believe me, go and see. Li Chuanlong snorted and slowly went upstairs with the rag. Li Chen glanced at it, waved his hands, and the rag, under his control, quickly wiped the entire first floor area. No need to do it yourself, it is purely controlled by telekinesis, and even no ladder is needed. Li Chuanlong, who went upstairs, looked at the shiny walls and floors in surprise, trying to find a dirty place. But I couldn't find it at all. Strange, Li Chuanlong could only go downstairs. You did it, Li Chen. Ah, I'm over here at the pool. Li Chen's voice came from the two large pools. Li Chuanlong. When he was about to raise the rag in his hand, he was stunned again. It's not right. This place was obviously very dirty before. Li Chuanlong stepped back in confusion, his eyes sweeping across the entire wall. Spotless. He ran to the restaurant next door and the kitchen in disbelief. The film on the newly installed door was also torn clean. This, Li Chuanlong looked at the already clean house and didn't know what to say for a while. There were still some fish in the big pond that Li Chen had asked someone to dig out before. During this period, it was all fed by Grandpa Li Chuanlong. These fish are still fat. Li Chen stared at the pond for a long time, staring at the fattest fish, and grabbed the big fish in the water with his right hand, and the big fish appeared in his hand. The fish weighed about 15 jin, and Li Chen carried it in one hand and walked to the pool. Li Zifeng, who had just settled the poultry at home, walked to the front of the house with his sweaty sister. "Dad, it's all done." Li Zifeng wiped his sweat, and his skin turned wheat-colored. "Go to the house and rest, and don't turn on the air conditioner too low." Li Chen pointed to the house and said, "Oh, by the way, call your uncle and ask them to come over for dinner." Okay. Li Zifeng led Li Biwu, who wanted to play in the water, into the house. Li Chen handled the fish quickly and cut it into slices. "Grandpa, which one is the pickled cabbage jar?" Li Chen shouted into the house after handling the fish. "I'll get it for you." Li Chuanlong responded. "What are you doing?" "Pickled cabbage fish." "Yes," Li Chen shouted, and walked into the house with a basket of vegetables. Everything at home was ready, so Li Chen didn't plan to delay. In 2 days, the family will harvest rice. Li Chen plans to collect the fish in the field after preparing the dishes. They should be very good after raising them for a while. Li Zifeng took out her cell phone, and Li Biwa came to her sister. "Stay away from me, it's so hot." "No," Li Biwa shook her head. "You are not hot, but I am." Li Zifeng said. "Come on, call your uncle." "What are you talking about?" "Just tell them to come to our house for dinner tonight." Okay. Li Biwa picked up the phone and clumsily opened it. "Wrong, it's that one." "Where?" "This one." Okay. Li Biwa smiled, wiped the sweat on his cheeks, and clicked on Li Chengguang's mobile phone number. Li Zifeng looked at the sweat of her stupid sister and had to take out the paper to wipe her. "Xiao Wu." "Uncle, Daddy, let you have dinner," Li Biwa shouted while holding the phone. "Dinner?" Li Chengguang smiled. "Yes, come quickly." Li Biwa nodded seriously. Okay. Li Chengguang agreed. "Sister Xiao Wu, can I come?" Li Junhao rushed out. Li Biwa hesitated for a moment and said, "Then will you compete with me for Rura?" "No." "Then you come too." Li Biwa smiled immediately. Li Zifeng. Li Chuanlong was responsible for cooking at home, while Li Chen went out with a bucket. "Dad." Li Biwa threw the phone to Li Zifeng and chased after him. "What are you doing here? Go back quickly, it's very hot." Li Chen squatted down and wiped the sweat off the little girl. "No." Li Biwa stretched out her hand for Li Chen to hold her. "You'll get tanned later." "No, not tanned." Li Biwa said coquettishly. Li Chen couldn't stand his little daughter's coquetry, so he could only pick her up with one hand and put a straw hat on her. "Dad, what are we going to do?" "Catch fish." "Xiao, are you?" Li Biwa's eyes lit up and she became interested. "Yes, little fish." Li Chen smiled and said, "It's specially for you and your sister." Hearing this, Li Biwa was so excited. Li Chen brought Xiao Wu to the field, and the rice was basically yellow. And after he irrigated it with vitality water, the rice in this area looked taller and fuller. "Daddy, are you, there is are you. Li Biwa has good eyesight and saw the fish in the paddy field at once, and shouted excitedly. "Don't worry." Li Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If he really let this little girl go down, it would be a minor matter to destroy the rice. Maybe she would be pricked by the rice and scream. The country life of a rich dad. Author, Wo Shi Hamigwa. Chapter 498. So many Ruru, Li Biwu stood on the ridge of the field and danced. If Daddy hadn't said that her whole body would be itchy after going down, she would have jumped down. Li Chen looked at Xing Xiao and couldn't help but smile. Secretly taking advantage of it, he began to put pressure on the rice fish in the field. As a result, these fish schools moved wildly, swimming towards Li Biwu along the ditches in the rice fields. In the paddy field, a splashing sound was heard. These fish have not been in there very long. But the nutrition is always good, otherwise there wouldn't be so many people raising rice croakers. Li Chen secretly controlled his strength and smoothly moved the rice on both sides, immediately revealing a large enough area. Catch him quickly. Ah! Li Biwu screamed and lay down beside the rice field with his butt sticking out. Don't run, don't run. Clumsy little hands were holding onto the obviously warm water in the rice field. These little fish are much bigger than when they were first released. Li Chen was willing to invest and put in vitality water. As a result, the water quality here was much better than other places. Li Biwu was very happy. Although he was a little clumsy, he was not slow in catching it. Another one. Baba, please be healthy, it's so big. Whoa, don't run. Li Biwu didn't care whether his clothes were dirty or not, he wanted to get into the water all over. The dense schools of fish are all the size of a finger. Some crucian carp grew larger, but Li Chen didn't stock a lot of crucian carp in the first place. Is it fun? Li Chen asked, looking at Li Biwu who was covered in water, mud, and some unknown green plants. Fun. Li Biwu used his muddy hands to make a painted face on Li Chen's face. Li Chen didn't bother to stop her and used a small net to catch all the small fish inside. It's a good thing I brought a big bucket, otherwise I wouldn't be able to fit it in. It can be seen how many fish Li Chen released at the beginning. As for the remaining fish, Li Chen has no intention of taking them. The water in the rice fields will be open tomorrow. At that time, these fish will enter the ditch along the water. They really didn't go away, I can only say they were unlucky. Li Biwu looked at the bucket in Li Chen's hand, his eyes glowing golden. Sairuru? The little girl asked, already starting to lick her lips. Li Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Did this foodie attribute really follow him? Didn't you feel how much of a foodie you were back then? Did Grandpa lie to himself? Woof woof. Dowdu came over and when he smelled the fishy smell, his saliva flowed out. This dog knows what good stuff is. Go away, Li Chen scolded Dowdu as he was about to stand up and prepare to steal the fish. Woohoo. Dowdu looked at Li Chen a little aggrievedly, not even taking me to catch fish. Li Chen rolled his eyes, I'll take you there and you can eat as much as you want, right? Being exposed by her master, Dowdu was a little embarrassed, so she ran to Li Biwu and prepared to act like a spoiled brat. Dowdu, you can't do that. Li Biwu held Dowdu's doggy face in his hands and taught him carefully every word. Li Chen was almost amused. This stupid dog actually wanted to eat the delicacies ordered by Xiao Wu. He was probably making a mistake. It's better for you to beg me than to beg Xiao Wu. Seeing Xiao Wu protecting the food, Dowdu also realized that he had begged the wrong person. So he turned to look at Li Chen again, but Li Chen pretended not to see it. Xiao Wu, guard the fish. Dad goes in to get something. Okay. Upon hearing this, Li Biwu immediately hugged the bucket. Dowdu was dumbfounded. He thought his master was gone and he finally had a chance to steal the fish. Suddenly, Dowdu suddenly turned his head and looked into the distance, barking desperately, as if there was any danger approaching. Li Biwu also knew something about Dowdu. If there was no danger, Dowdu would not be like this. Moreover, Dowdu was jumping up and down anxiously at this moment. Li Biwu quickly turned his head and looked into the distance with his beautiful eyes widened. Dowdu, you just called Senator Dowdu. Li Biwu turned around and saw Daodu biting a few fish and preparing to run away. The little girl was immediately shocked. He was so angry that he jumped to his feet and said, "Meet me." Daodu turned around and ran away. Anyway, he had already deceived the fish. Stop! Li Biwu was so angry that he wanted to chase after him. Li Chen happened to come out and quickly stopped Li Biwu, who was spreading his feet, and said, "What's wrong?" "Daodu stole my RU." Li Biwu was about to cry, pointing at Daodu and complaining. "Li Chen, when will you change your food protecting temperament?" Forget it, Li Chen comforted, "it's just 2 fish. Once Daodu eats it, let's not give it lunch, okay?" Li Biwu's stomach bulged with anger, and he pouted his lips. After being comforted by Dad, he calmed down. Next, Li Chen began to clean the internal organs of the small fish, while Li Biwu stood in the bright sun without holding an umbrella. As long as Daodu dares to get close, he angrily picks up a stick to drive it away. It made Daodu afraid to get close. After quickly processing the fish, he took some internal organs and gave them to Big Red and Little Red to eat. Because Xiao Wu and Xiao Feng are relatively young, and Li Chen wants to take care of the children, this kind of fish cannot be simply fried. It is best to cook and fry it into small crispy fish. This kind of small crispy fish has a lot of ingredients, including minced garlic, onion, ginger, a lot of peppercorns and dried red peppers. Finally, fry it over high heat, not too long. After high temperature frying, and then frying it in oil, the small crispy fish is very soft and crispy and delicious. Li Zifeng and Li Biwu couldn't move their feet. The taste was really too tempting. After Li Chen fried it, he immediately picked up 2 small fish with chopsticks and put them in 2 small bowls. "Try it." Li Biwu was about to take the fish, but was slapped by Li Zifeng. "Stupid." Li Zifeng glared at the stupid sister, picked it up with chopsticks and blew it. "Hoo hoo." Blow the small fish a little cooler, and after the stupid sister swallowed her saliva repeatedly, put it into the stupid sister's mouth. The small fish is not the kind of hard feeling after frying. On the contrary, after the second frying, it will be abnormally soft. Moreover, the fish bones have been completely softened. If there are fish bones, spit them out, okay? Li Zifeng stared at her stupid sister and said. "Okay." Li Biwu answered while eating a small fish in 2 or 3 bites. As for fish bones, it is impossible to spit them out. Fortunately, these small fish bones are almost crispy, which saves Li Chen from worrying. "Sister," Li Biwu also picked up a cold fish with her little hand and blew it. Li Zifeng frowned. This stupid sister blew a lot of saliva, how can she eat it? Time. Li Biwu stood on tiptoe, holding the small fish, looking at Li Zifeng expectantly. Thinking that it was all covered with her sister's saliva, Li Zifeng wanted to refuse. But in the end, she stuffed the small fish into her mouth, and the wonderful taste made her eyes shine. "Is it good?" "Yeah, delicious." Both sisters smiled. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shi-ha-mi-gwa. Chapter 499. Because there are a lot of fish, it will take a long time to fry. Li Chen stayed in the kitchen to deal with it, while Li Biwu and Li Zifeng took the small fish to find their great-grandfather. Grandpa doesn't have to work now, so he starts to clean up the house. Li Biwu would take the fried fish and show his courtesy in front of his great-grandfather. At Li Chuanlong's age, as long as his children are still promising, they will basically have to tease their grandchildren. Nowadays, Li Chen is still somewhat promising. Li Chuanlong simply stopped caring about other things and concentrated on running the family well. If the great-great-grandson who has never met comes back, this family will really be perfect. But Li Chuanlong also knows his family's situation. The day of reunion will not be too far away, but it is definitely not now. So he is also thinking openly. At present, the main thing is to take good care of his two precious great-granddaughters. He will agree to whatever these two precious great-granddaughters ask. Li Zifeng pursed her lips and watched Li Biwu stuff the half-eaten small crispy fish into Grandpa's mouth. The key is that my great-grandfather really didn't dislike it at all, but actually ate it with relish. Li Biwu, with curved eyelashes and slight dimples on his face, lay on Li Chuanlong's knees and said with a smile, "Great-grandpa, are you okay?" "It's delicious." Li Chuanlong lowered his head and pressed his forehead against Li Biwu's. The little girl immediately smiled and touched her forehead with her great-grandfather, holding back her face until it turned red. "Grandpa, uncle, and the others are also coming to eat." Li Zifeng bit the small crispy fish with her teeth. She has lost her front teeth and is very troubled now. "I would have forgotten it if you didn't tell me." Li Chuanlong was startled, then touched Li Biwu's little head and said, "Xiao Wu, you are playing with your sister. Grandpa wants to help your father cook." Li Biwu was playing enthusiastically, but was a little unhappy after hearing this. Li Zifeng grabbed the stupid sister's collar with one hand and said, "Grandpa, you go, I will take care of Xiao Wu." "Okay." Li Chuanlong pinched Li Zifeng's face lovingly, laughed loudly, got up and walked towards the kitchen. Just as Li Biwu wanted to run away, Li Zifeng restrained Fate's neck. "Elder sister, don't go looking for Grandpa." Li Zifeng reminded, "They are busy." "Kesu, your son Wukong is going to fly away." Li Biwu trembled all over, turned around and ran to his room. Looking at the stupid sister running into the house, Li Zifeng smiled, threw the little crispy fish into her mouth, and ran into the kitchen. The eldest uncle and the second uncle came to have dinner. Dad and great-grandfather alone were not enough. As the only sensible eldest child in the family, she felt that she had to help. After entering the kitchen, Li Zifeng looked at the two busy figures and said, "Grandpa, let me help you wash the vegetables." "You go and play." Li Chuanlong smiled and shook his head, "Just leave this place to your dad and me." "I can help." Li Zifeng hummed, "I'm not Xiao Wu." Li Chuanlong was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "Really?" "Yeah." Li Zifeng nodded affirmatively. Li Chuanlong was guiding him on how to pick and wash vegetables, and Li Zifeng learned it immediately. It would definitely be much slower for Li Chen and Li Chuanlong alone to prepare food for a large family. But if you add Li Zifeng's small labor force, it will naturally be much faster. Not to mention, Li Chuanlong's speed has increased a lot since Li Zifeng joined. Li Chen specializes in cooking, Li Chuanlong is mainly responsible for cutting vegetables, and Li Zifeng is responsible for picking and washing. The temperature in summer is always relatively high. Even if there is a fan installed in the kitchen, it is already so hot that you are sweating. Not long after, people from the three families came. The eldest sister-in-law Humian, the second sister-in-law Yan Zhenkai, and the third sister-in-law Li Zixin all entered the kitchen one after another. They knew that with this big family coming to eat, Li Chen and Li Chuanlong alone couldn't handle it. But they didn't expect to find that the table was already filled with dishes when they entered. "Xiao Feng, did you do all this?" Humian, the sister-in-law, looked at Li Zifeng's squatting figure in surprise. "Yeah." Li Zifeng nodded, his eyes full of pride. "Wow, our Xiao Feng is so awesome. He can even be your father's little helper." Humian praised. "I tie it too. I tie it too." Li Biwu, who was squatting next to Li Zifeng and was responsible for playing in the water, also raised his head and said loudly, "Ah, did Xiao Wu help with the dishes too?" Humian looked at her niece in surprise. When Li Zifeng heard this, she looked at the stupid sister dumbfounded. How can she help? Just playing in the water here. Yes, Li Biwu admitted without blushing or out of breath. Li Chen and Li Chuanlong both couldn't help laughing. It is not difficult for Li Chen to cook 2 dishes on 2 gas stoves at the same time. Sister-in-law, you go and sit down for a while. There are only a few dishes left and they will be finished soon, Li Chen said with a smile. Humian and the 3 girls looked at each other and smiled. From the time they first came into contact with this younger brother to now, they had to admit that this man had grown too much. As a father, he is gradually becoming qualified. As a grandson, he did everything he could. There may still be many shortcomings, but they are not big problems. Xiao Wu, let's go out, third sister Li Zixin squatted next to Li Biwu and asked. Kesu, I want to help daddy. The little girl didn't realize that she was doing a disservice. Let's go, we don't need you here anymore, Li Zifeng said mercilessly. Li Biwu pouted and took Li Zixin's hand and went out. Soon, the sound of several children fighting came from outside the house. Once there are more children, they will quarrel more. The noisy sound can hurt people's eardrums. Those who don't have children only think that children are cute, and those who have children think that cute children are little devils. Not only do they make people die, but sometimes they don't listen at all and roll on the ground. Li Biwu is the youngest, but it doesn't stop her from playing happily behind her brother and sister. When Li Chen finished the last few bowls of dishes, several sisters-in-law had already prepared the rest. There were small crispy fish, pickled fish, braised spare ribs, lofa soup, shredded potatoes, cucumber ham, garlic sprouts fried meat, cabbage, snow pea stewed beef, braised pig's trotters, pickled beans and meat, lobster tail meat, bullfrog meat, winter melon slices and bitter melon scrambled eggs on the table. Because we were at home, we mainly used home-cooked dishes. It was not too difficult for Li Chen to cook. Each bowl of dish was super famous. There were too many people, otherwise it would not be enough. There were 6 people in the family of my great-grandfather Li Chuanzhao alone, so the demand for these 4 families combined was naturally not small. Li Chen took out the good wine he brought back from Diaotai last time and put it on the table, and also put the drunk concubine wine of the Pan family on the table. Uncle, would you like some? The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 500. Li Penjiun nodded with a smile, and the second uncle and the third uncle did not refuse. It was a rare happy day, so everyone didn't have to worry and could drink freely. Although they had never left the village, they were well informed. As soon as Li Chen put the 2 kinds of wine on the table, they immediately recognized that they were good wines. The second uncle Li Yunhu looked at the white wine on the table and muttered, Diaotai. Li Chen was slightly surprised, raised his eyebrows and looked at the second uncle, and said, Sure, second uncle, you know all this. Li Yunhua immediately laughed foolishly, waved his hand with a simple and honest look, I have seen it in some videos. This kind of place is not open to the public. Ordinary people can't buy the things in it. Li Chen didn't know whether this second uncle really saw it from some videos or had some kind of experience. He didn't intend to get to the bottom of it. Who doesn't have a little secret? Come on, drink. Everyone filled their glasses and congratulated Li Chuanlong and Li Chen, the grandfather and grandson, for finally having a decent home. Secondly, congratulating Li Chen on having offspring was also an explanation to the ancestors of the Li family. The chatterbox at the wine table is the easiest to open. These relatives of Li Chen are all direct relatives, so they don't shy away from anything. As the smell of wine spread, several relatives also let go. Li Chen, have you and Shuer had a wedding? Asked the eldest aunt Ding Min. Many elders in the room looked at Li Chen with curious and expectant eyes. Not yet. Li Chen shook his head slightly. He and Shuer had only known each other for a short time. Hearing this news, the relatives were all happy, but they felt it was a bit inappropriate and quickly put away their smiles. Ding Min hurriedly said, since you have children, the wedding will still be held after all. Don't let them down. Li Chen nodded, and the second sister-in-law Yan Zhenkai beside him also came over and said, yes, this girl needs a name after all, not to mention Shue'er. It can be seen that they all like Murong Shui very much. Especially when they knew that Murong Shui had given birth to 4 children for Li Chen, they felt even more distressed. Only those who have given birth know how painful, troublesome, and hard it is to give birth. Murong Shui had no complaints. If Li Chen didn't hold the wedding, they would teach him a lesson. Don't worry, Aunt, I will definitely prepare a perfect wedding for Shue'er, Li Chen promised. This wedding must not only be perfect, but also unique. The premise is that Shue'er must not know, and the surprise will naturally be reduced a lot. Some things still have to be kept secret. Hearing what Li Chen said, the third sister Li Zixan immediately said, have you prepared it a long time ago? This time, even Grandpa Li Chuanlong and others looked over curiously. Li Chen has many ideas and always has his own ideas. They know it. If Li Chen really has an arrangement, everyone will definitely support it. Li Chen felt a little uncomfortable being looked at by his family members, and smiled. There are arrangements, but there will be considerable difficulties and challenges in practice. I can't do it alone. When the eldest uncle Li Penjiun heard this, he immediately said excitedly, you kid, if you have any difficulties, just tell us. We are all family members. How can we not help you? That's right, you are still hiding it now. You don't treat us as a family, second uncle Li Yunhua also said. Tell me quickly, what can we do to help? Aunt Li Yinghui couldn't help but get anxious. This is a big event for the Li family. Let alone Murong Shui's identity as a celebrity, just talking about Murong Shui, they think this girl is worth the Li family's big celebration. Besides, the younger generation of the Li family is still too young, and the older generation is only Li Chen who is not married, so they still want to have some festive things at home. Even Li Zifeng stared at Li Chen silently, and it was obvious that she was also very interested in participating. Li Chen smiled and said, I have already made a plan for this matter, but I am still thinking about more things. Let's not talk about this for now. For the time being, I have to ask you to keep it secret for me and not let Shue'er know. You kid. What's the secret? Do you look down on us? Hurry up and tell me. The elders are now anxious and want to beat Li Chen up. Li Chen chuckled and said, this is how I arranged it. The group of people were stunned when they heard it, and they couldn't help but smack their lips until Li Chen finished speaking with a dry mouth. Young people still know how to play. But if you do this, it will take a long time. Is it in time? Yes, and you have to arrange so many things. Even if our village cooperates, it will probably take some time. The key is that everyone may not agree with your plan. As Li Chen finished speaking, they really began to seriously consider these things. I have calculated this, and it is not a big problem. After all these are out, their per capita assets will be at least tens of millions, and I will fund the next arrangements. Li Chen explained further. So, this group of relatives began to whisper to each other. Marriage is the top priority, and they also know that Li Chen is a promising child. So no one asked about other things. As elders, they only cared about when the wedding would be held. It would be best to have another child. Of course, this depends on whether Li Chen and Murong Shui are willing. The Li family has relatively few children in this generation, so they hope that Li Chen and Murong Shui can have more children. Then, you arrange things one by one, and we will follow your pace, the eldest brother Li Chenwang immediately said. Anyway, you have to tinker with the village, so why not use the excuse of building a super park for Xiao Wu and others as a perfect cover? That's what I meant, Li Chen smiled. The eldest brother is also a smart man, and he actually thought of the same thing as himself. Before they finished eating, the 3 grandfathers took Li Chuanlong to discuss the itinerary, including the betrothal gifts that needed to be given later. As for the eldest uncle and the second uncle, they took Li Chen and began to calculate the process. The eldest sister-in-law, the second sister-in-law and others began to start with the details arranged by Li Chen. The wedding was scheduled for October, and it was only late July now, and there were more than 2 months, which was enough in theory. But after careful calculation, the time was still a bit too tight. The alternative plan was to get married at the end of the year. No one is considering this for the time being, unless there is really not enough time. Everyone is still happy to celebrate with the country during the National Day. You young people should do this, Li Yunhua said. As for the other major things, we will control and do it. Okay, the third brother-in-law Zhang Fan immediately smiled and pulled the eldest brother Li Chengwang, the second brother Li Feichen and others over. Li Chen, are you sure you want to do this? The third sister Li Zixan couldn't help but said, it costs a lot.